All right, everybody, just decided to come in with a brand new video for you. I actually was able to grab a video from one of my students from Michigan, Mr. Mike, Mango Mike, they call him. Lives in Indiana, I believe it is, or yeah, I think it's Indiana. But he shoots in Michigan, Ohio, all kinds of different areas around the state. So I wanted to kind of bring in a little video from him. He just finished a class with me, so he's really had a major mindset change and a lot of breakthroughs in the last, I guess it's only been about 2 weeks since he came to the class. So I'm super excited to see some of these videos that he's been sharing with me to kind of keep an eye on them. And I figured I would do a breakdown video on this because this I see a lot in my students or even in shooters in general. So I figured this would be a great opportunity to give you guys some content, kind of give you guys some tips on some of the things that I look for, and actually kind of my process on how I do my breakdown videos for my master members and things I'm looking for. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run the video full speed, sound on, everything of Mike running the stage, and then I will break down the stage. So I have first person as well as third person. So I like to start with third person because I like to look at the movement first, and then I go into the gun issue. So, or a lot of the times the first person, what's good about first person is you kind of see what they're attacking or what they're looking at. Not just whether they're sweeping targets or accuracy, because sometimes that doesn't really matter to me as much as the footwork, because when the footwork is bad, that's where a lot of the inaccuracies come from, not just the gripping of the gun. And Mike has a very good, phenomenal sound base of fundamentals. So that's not something that I have to work a lot on for Mike. So, okay, let's get into it. Here we go. Let's get into this. I'm going to mute this because we don't really need the sound. So there's a couple of different things that happened on this video with Mike. And I'm going to kind of flip back and forth to first person here. So I want to kind of show you guys a couple of different things on where it affects his accuracy because of his footwork. So let me get into that real quick. I'm going to do some video changing stuff here, and I'm going to block that video. Okay, so that way I can flip back and forth between first person and third. So it should be a lot easier for me to kind of visually see it for you guys. So let's talk a little bit about some of the choices that Mike made here. Mike chose to go after... It was really Mike's issue wasn't that he moved and shot. It wasn't that his fundamentals were bad. It was that he attacked the wrong targets, and that's actually what cost him most of his accuracy or make up shots and all these different things. So let's get into the very beginning here. Mike has a jam. That doesn't matter. You have a jam, things are going to go wrong. You never allow it to take away your aggressiveness. And not only do you not allow it to take away your aggressiveness, but you don't pick up the pace. You just have to shoot the pace that you were going to shoot at, because as soon as you shoot or outshoot your sights, it gets worse. So now you had a problem, and now you compounded that problem into a massive train wreck, and now your whole stage goes bad instead of just losing a little bit of time. You might have already beaten everybody on the draw. Even though you had a jam, now you just made your time equal to theirs instead of it being actually that bad. So it's, a lot of the times what we feel is a long, long time isn't as long as we think. So Mike's going to run over to the left, come in, has really good entry. Gun was up. That's something that we work on a lot in my class. I'm a big proponent of sights. I want you to be able to shoot through the wall. You should be trigger prepped, ready to shoot through that wall. So when you come around that corner, that's when it's time to pull the trigger. So this is where I'm going to kind of show you some stuff about Mike's footwork. So right now, Mike's good. He's settled in. He's actually able to really shoot. But again, Mike's starting to rush his shooting, all because of the jam, right? And you can kind of see where he's making up shots on not small steel, but big giant steel. And the steel, I think he said this paper was about 20 yards. So I'm assuming that steel's about 20 yards. 20-yard big poppers is not that difficult, especially not for someone like Mike who has good fundamentals. So he comes in, has a makeup shots on a steel. I want you to, this is where I do a lot of things different in what I train or what I teach. This is one of them, and it's definitely the footwork. So I do not believe in crossing your feet at all unless you are going to get to a specific spot or you need a specific amount of distance. You do not need to cross your feet in this sport, and it's not because I'm worried you're going to fall over. It has nothing to, it's not any of that, you know, the old tactical, you know, witch hunt stuff that people come up with. It has to do with that it affects the gun. So when you cross your feet, it affects your gun. And what I mean by that, it jars the gun up and down, left and right. And if you can see, as Mike crosses his feet, he's trying to shoot where his hips are going to face, right? So if he's shooting at the targets in front of him, when he crosses his feet, it throws his shoulders, the gun, and everything to the right. Now, it's hard to see this. I'm going to see if this shows up on the first person view. So that's why we're going to switch real quick, but I want to show you his footwork and how he executes this. So as he comes across, you can kind of see how he's very methodical. So it's a stop position, a stop position, a stop position, and then he's got to make up shots, all because his footwork isn't good. Now, if you watch how he exits this next position, this is what I'm looking for on the move. But see, now he's facing a target straight in front of him, and that's what allowed him to open his hips up, because he focused on his footwork and his hips to that target. Okay, so let me rewind this a little bit. And we're going to go back to first person view here. Now I want you to really pay attention to what happens when Mike crosses his feet. So right about now, he's going to shoot this paper, and this is where he's going to cross his feet. And you can kind of see right here. Now this is what throws him off, right? Because now he's got to slow down a little bit, and you can see this third shot, and right here, bang. So he's going to go 1, 2, and then, oh, I missed it. So it's 1, 2, and then you see the gun kind of jump way to the right. That's the cross feet. That's where he's crossing his feet right there. All right. And then he gets to the steal and he misses the steal. And the reason he's missing the steal is because he ran out of time. So now in his mind, he's supposed to leave. He's supposed to leave. He's supposed to leave. So let's go back here again and watch. I'm going to take you back to third person. So if you watch, so I want to make sure I get onto the cross feet part. So right now is where his feet are crossed. So I just want to make sure that you can see what he's shooting at. So right now he's still shooting at that. He's starting to shoot at that second target, right? And now his gun's going to jump and move all around on him. So as he transitioned, there's 1. So that looks high. So it's 1, 2, and then, so he does have to take 3 shots, and that came from him crossing his feet. Okay. So again, it's not the shooting that's the problem here, guys. Everybody thinks that the gun is where the inaccuracies come from. They do in a lot of ways, but the majority of people that know how to stand and shoot 2 alphas, their mistakes come from their body movement. They start adding body movement as you start to get faster and better in the sport. The more you move your body is the more the gun moves with it. And most people don't pay attention enough to their footwork to understand that the inaccuracies come from the footwork or from your body movement. Anything extra that you add in movement-wise that isn't a smooth, clean movement is now going to jar the gun. Crossing your feet jars the gun like a lot. And there is some opportunities where I guess I'll shoot a second video of this, of kind of showing you just an example for you to take your sights and cross your feet, and you'll understand. You'll really be able to look at the gun and go, wow, it really moves the gun a lot. So as we go back to third person here, I want you to watch. So he's going to go bang, bang. Now he's going to shoot at the steal 3 times. So instead of hitting the steal the first time, he has 2 makeup shots on the steal. Well, let's talk about why he had those makeup shots. It has everything to do with because of how he shot this array. So instead of shooting this paper and skipping the 2 paper that are farther away, and shooting steel first, he decided to shoot paper first, and it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to understand why, because it's the first thing that you see on the stage is that paper. So what ends up happening is when you see a paper or a target, you think, oh, I don't want to waste a transition. But if your goal is to get to the last target as fast as possible with the best hits, you have to give yourself more time to shoot. Because if you're moving, you're going to move targets out of your vision. You're not going to have them in your vision to shoot at any longer because you're now gaining distance. And I'll show you what I mean. If Mike starts on this paper or on this steel, he now has paper and paper to shoot at for twice as long. So if he starts from right here, transitions past the paper, he now has, I don't know, let's see how many steps Mike took to get to that final position. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So he had 4, 5, maybe, let's see where, if I don't know if I can see on his hat cam here, but so Mike had about 5 steps to shoot that paper versus 2, right? So Mike runs out of space right here is where the steal is. So Mike runs out of space on 2 steps. So it's 1, 2. He had 2 steps before he runs out versus 5 steps, which he could be more aggressive with the gun. He could be more aggressive with the speed of his foot movement. There's all kinds of different opportunities there to be faster because he chose to shoot this paper instead of the steel. It actually made him turn this into a stop position. Mike also was thinking, man, I moved and shot on that paper. If you actually watch this, just moving your feet doesn't mean you're actually gaining distance. This, ladies and gentlemen, is what I call happy feet, where you're standing in one spot, you're moving your feet, but you're not actually gaining distance. 99% of the time, if you watch people back up on targets, they're doing happy feet. They don't gain any real distance. They might start moving their body a little bit, but they shoot extremely slow and they don't gain any real distance. So I don't back out a lot because it costs you more time in shooting and accuracy than it does to just turn around, use your power on your legs and run out of that and blast out of that position with a nice solid base of your legs versus tippy-toeing out and not actually gaining any distance. So I guess I'll have to do another video on that, explain that. So a lot of this stuff, guys, I've already explained in the Insider Circle, my online course. So if you're looking for those tips, they're in there. I can't do videos on all this stuff, but as it comes up, I try to talk about it a little bit. So as we go into this, Mike's going to, let me go back to first person here. So Mike's going to shoot. Now, again, because the steel hung him up, it cost him to be perfect. Again, this is something else I teach in my class. I don't want you to ever have to be perfect because perfection is very difficult in the sport. There's a lot of things that go into perfection in the sport. Your gun works, your grip's perfect, your trigger prep's perfect, your vision is on point. There's a lot of different things, and even though our bullets are very small and the paper and the steel are very big compared to the bullet, sure seems pretty easy to miss that target with such a small bullet, but we're going so fast. This is why it's very difficult to expect perfection. You should expect that you're not going to be perfect. And if you give yourself more time, it allows you to shoot things calmer and get better hits faster because you're shooting everything sooner. Okay. So as he rolls through this, I'll just get past this piece of steel. Mike chooses to shoot this piece of steel next. Okay. So right away, one of the issues is Mike shoots this piece of steel and takes his gun down. So instead of keeping his gun up, he takes his gun down. And as he rolls forward right now, Mike has to find a second sight picture. Mike should have aimed from this piece of steel and transitioned his gun immediately to that piece of steel through the wall and been able to shoot it through the wall. So obviously I don't want you to shoot it through the wall. That's cheating. What I want is for you, when you see the target, I don't care that you can shoot it. I care that you're ready to shoot it. That's what I call trigger prep. I'm prepped for the shot getting ready to go off. So if I'm ready before the target shows up, guess what I get to do? I get to aim longer. I get to have my sights for longer. I get to shoot slower because I've shot it before everybody else. So if I was shooting this array, I would have shot this steel right now as it opened up. I would not have shot this steel where Mike did, and I'll show you why this affected his score. So Mike's now shot it, missed it because he had to find a sight picture in a hurry. That's the first thing. Also, look how much Mike exposed of the steel. You don't need the left side of that steel. You don't need the right side of that steel. You only need the center of that steel. So the right side was obviously exposed and opened up, but the left side, it took him that extra long time. So you guys, I want you to understand something. That is well over a foot of available target that was not shot. That's how long it took Mike to get his sights back up because he pushed off with the gun too hard. So let's go back to third person again real quick. So let's talk about where Mike took his gun down. So right now, Mike drops his gun and sacrificed the shooting for a hard push that actually never really gained him any distance because watch, Mike's barely gaining any distance here because if he goes too far, he's going to run out of time to reload. So let's go back to third person again. This again, like I said, happy feet. You're not actually moving your feet. You're not gaining large chunks of distance or really distance at all if you're not moving and shooting things all the time. So as Mike comes to this next target, look what happens now where Mike is at. Not only does he have a reload coming up here, but Mike's about to run himself out of this target again. So if he goes any farther forward, look what happens. Now he runs himself out of that target again. Mike could have come off of the steal and shot the open paper to the right instead. That would have given him a longer time to reload on the next set of targets, and I'll explain why. Mike's shooting carry optics, plenty of rounds here. This is in production. He's got plenty of rounds, not single stack either. He's got plenty of rounds here. So he could have shot all the shots that he had, turned, shot this paper, and then if he would have shot the paper instead of moving, he could have turned, transitioned, started taking some steps towards that paper, shot two, he would have reloaded, ended up all the way over here and shot steal, steal, and then there's your paper at the end. And I'll go to third person to kind of show you where Mike actually lost quite a bit of time from the reload. This almost became a standing reload. So I'll make sure I turn the sound on here because I want you to hear this. Ready? Here we go. Do you hear the big gaps between the steal and the far right paper? So I want you to listen. This is where it comes into blending, where you have to blend positions together. This is kind of a smorgasbord of how I do my breakdowns, guys. So like guys like Mike are pretty advanced. So I will find a lot of this in 5 or 6 videos. And this is what I break down through all of his videos. So you listen to that big gap. That's at least 3/4 of a second. I guarantee without even looking at the timer, I already know that's at least 3/4 of a second on a transition because he was so out of position. Instead of shooting that steal on the move into position, he actually tried to back out. And if you watch, he's going to try to back out a little bit. Like he doesn't go to the right, he backs out. See how he backs out? But he actually never gained any distance on the shooting. All he did was add more risk to the steal. So watch his footwork right here. This is why I video everything I do. And I actually tell my students every single class, video, because this is how you find out where your mistakes are coming from. So watch Mike's feet. He moves his feet a bunch, but he never gained a drop of distance to the far right. Watch. See how he moved backwards? Watch his feet again. Ready? He moved backwards. Look where he's going. He went backwards. Now he moved to the right and shot to the right. Off balance. Not even a good, clean, like guaranteed 2 alphas. Instead, he's shooting on 1 foot on a tippy toe. Right? On a tippy toe. Again, this isn't against Mike. This is the stuff that I see all the time. It's not the gun. If I told Mike to stand and shoot, he'd probably work my butt over big time with accuracy. It's the movement that's killing you guys. This is the stuff right here that's gold to me. These videos like this, I guarantee you 2, 3, 4 seconds if you started focusing on your movement. This is the stuff that's golden right here. It's not the distance of the target that's the problem because you should be shooting your sights anyway. If you're shooting your sights, it doesn't matter how far the target is. It doesn't matter. You can move and shoot on anything. Obviously, it takes practice to become proficient, but it's always sights and trigger, sights and trigger, sights and trigger. So what creates where you can't move and shoot on long distance is your guns moving all over the place because you're adding your body into it. You're adding all kinds of extra movement into it. Is it worth moving and shooting on a 20-yard target? Absolutely. It's absolutely worth it, depending on the stage. This stage here, because the way Mike shot it, it's not worth it. This is actually the stage that cost Mike the victory of this match. But it's not because Mike was scared to shoot the 20-yard targets. It's because how Mike chose to attack those 20-yard targets. Shooting was fine. I don't think he had a mic on any of those targets. The problem was it cost him in time and makeup shots. Here's the problem with makeup shots, guys. They don't show up in the score. They don't show up as a bad thing because you don't really see them. If you don't video or you don't check your practice score, if they don't use the Bluetooth and AMG timers and those kind of timers to where you can actually see the makeup shots, you don't really know where you're losing your time. This is why video is so important, guys. This is why I have a master program where I break down videos for my students left and right. So, okay, guys, I hope this video helps. I really enjoy these videos. I actually, even though the master membership videos are a lot of work for me with my schedule, I really love breaking down my students' videos. This is what it's like for me when I go to a local. This is what I see. Like I literally see everybody shooting just like this. I think about it. I slow motion them. I see all the mistakes. it's kind of a crazy world that my brain lives in with this sport. I love to talk about it. I love to watch it. So if you guys have any questions, hit me up in the comments. If you're looking for some online training, if you guys are looking for video breakdowns like this, hit me up, tcsacoaching.com, and I'll see you on the rage.